Hello, today I want to teach one of my favourite lessons, which is a walking lesson. Now, the walking is a really important function that we all need all our lives, and it's often when people have a number of things that are going on for them, issues like dodgy knees or hips, low back, fibromyalgia, arthritis or whatever. I often ask them what would they really like to improve, what would they really like to do that they can't do at the moment. And often people say they would just like to take the dog for a walk without any pain. So this is why this is such a transformative lesson. It's very easy to do, and my friend Justina here is it was actually her her first lesson that she had when she was about to go off on a holiday to Miami, I think, wasn't it? Florida. And Justina used to suffer quite badly from fibromyalgia and a number of other things. And I think this walking lesson made a difference, and she was able to walk across Florida or something like that. Anyway, so we will begin. So if you could bring your legs down. So we'll just start with a body scan. So if you could just take a moment to notice how you're breathing, and just notice what parts of you are moving as you breathe. So notice your belly rising and falling. Notice your chest rising and falling. And then just notice how your whole body is in contact with the table today. So if there is a dividing line down through the centre of you, is one side of you higher, heavier, longer? And then just notice your pelvis, and again just notice how it contacts the table. Notice if one side is higher than the other, and then also notice the width of your shoulders. First of all, notice your back where the shoulder blades are, but also notice, is one shoulder more obvious to you than the other? We're going to come back to scanning throughout the lesson. So if you can, just get a sense of the impact that you are making now, and then we're going to compare that as we go along when we finish parts of this lesson. Okay, so when you're ready, if you could turn over onto your right side and set yourself up with your arms long in front of you, and the top leg is superimposed on the bottom leg. So we're going to begin a movement. You're going to keep your top arm, the elbow, straight. We'll begin a movement of just sliding the hand a little bit longer than the other hand, and then just slide it back. And get a sense that this movement is directed by your shoulder blade. So it's the shoulder blade pushing the arm forward and back. And just do this very gently and slowly and softly. And just start to notice how that movement is affecting the rest of you. So notice that your head starts to roll a little bit. You might even notice the movement go down your spine a little bit. we go. And then just pause and take a rest. Do you need this to be a bit higher? Is that better?
Yeah.
Do you need it higher than that?
No, that's fine.
Brilliant, good. Okie doke. So now we're going to do a similar thing actually with the pelvis, except this time the pelvis is going to push the knee a little bit further, a little bit beyond the other knee. So when you're ready, just think about sliding this knee forward and then back. That's lovely. And you will notice that your pelvis rolls forward a little bit. All this movement is directly coming from the pelvis. The leg's not really doing anything at all. And hopefully your leg is nice and relaxed on top of the other leg. And Justine is an old hand at Feldenkrais, so she actually knows that she doesn't have to put much effort into this. Less is more, as we often say. That's it. And then so notice all the movement travelling up through the spine. So you can probably feel it up through the middle back. Brilliant, good. And then just pause there. So now we're going to join both those movements together, and we're just going to move the arm and the knee forward and back. Lovely, good, perfect. And then just pause. And now, just to confuse the brain, we are going to move the leg forward as the arm goes back. And then the arm goes forward and the leg goes back. That's brilliant. I can tell you've done this before. There's no effort in this confusing the brain movement. Brilliant, lovely, good. And then just pause. So out of the shoulder and the pelvis, which is the one that you find more difficult to do? Do you know?
I think the shoulder.
Shoulder?
It's probably, pelvis is easier.
Okay, so let's just slide the arm forward and back now. That's it. Nice. Does it feel a bit smoother?
Mm.
Lovely, brilliant, good. Okie doke, come to lie on your back and let's just take a scan. See this way. So just bring your legs down. So compared with how you started when we did the body scan right at the beginning, how do you feel now? Can you notice anything that's different?
Yeah, more relaxed, more in contact with the table.
What about your left leg? How does that feel compared with the right leg?
It feels a bit longer.
Yeah. And do you notice that it feels more turned out? Your foot is turned out more?
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
Lovely, good. Well, that just shows that your leg is relaxed, the hip joint is relaxed. Lovely, great. Okay, so let's come back into that same position. And let's just do a couple of times, just slide your top leg forward and then back. good. And then just pause there. So this time I'd like you to keep your feet together and very gently just lift this top knee up. That's it. And just lower it down nice and gently. So, you know, just do this maybe not even as much as you're doing. So perhaps do less and see if you can get a sense that a puff of wind is actually just blowing your knee up. It's very easy, very gentle. And at this point you might notice that the pelvis rolls back a little bit. Excellent, good. And then just pause. And now, keeping the knees together, can you just lift this foot up? Lovely, good. And then just rest, just pause. And then let's do both of those movements alternately now. So again, just very softly bring your knee up and then bring the foot up. So the pelvis rolls forward a bit and then it rolls back a bit. Brilliant, lovely, good. Okay, and then just rest there for a minute. And let's now go to the ankle joint. So what I'd like you to do is to keep your heels together, but just very gently lift your top part of your foot up and then lower it down. So do that a few times. And again, you might notice that the movement travels up through your knee. You might even feel it in the hip joint. And you might even feel it travelling up through the spine. That's it, lovely. And then just pause. And now, leaving your top parts of your feet together, just gently lift your heel up. That's it. And just do that a few times. Lovely, good. And now let's alternate those two movements. So lift the toes up and then lift the heel. And this movement's quite an important movement for the ankle joint, which doesn't get an awful lot of access to uneven surfaces when we walk, so it gets rather stiff. That's it, lovely, good. And then just rest. And then if you could come onto your back again, and we'll just do a scan. Okay, and bring your legs down. So get a sense of, if again, notice the line that's going down through your body. Is there a difference between the left side and the right side of you?
It just feels softer and more melted into the table.
Brilliant, good. Okay, I'm just going to leave you there for a minute to enjoy how you feel. So we're not going to do the second side for the purposes of this video. if we were, I would get Justina to roll onto her other side, and we would actually imagine all the movements that we've just done. So using the imagination, it can actually speed up the process, because the one side of her body has already learnt the movements, and so we would use the imagination, and then I would actually get her to do all the different movements. So, but we're not going to do that today, but if you're watching this video, hopefully you'll watch it again and you'll learn how to do the movements, and you can enjoy doing both sides of yourself. But also try using your imagination, because it can actually have an effect on how you move. So there's a wonderful film called Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with Marilyn Monroe, and I always call this lesson my Marilyn Monroe lesson, simply because when you start to walk after doing this lesson, you start using your whole body. So you have a very, very languid pelvis moves, the shoulder moves, and you look powerful, pain-free, sexy, strong, and it's a brilliant way to move through that rest of your life. However, I've had a man here, I would actually say, do you want to run like Usain Bolt? And again, it's the move. If you ever watch Usain Bolt running, you can see his whole body is running, is moving. So this is the lesson that can transform the way you move when you walk. Thank you.